start to see it. So let's start thinking about this. And what should happen then is, when I eat, my body will absorb the fats better, or it will eliminate them because they're surrounded. You know what I mean? And you hopefully then you'll not want to eat as much fatty food. Everything will work better, right? That's kind of where we're going with this thing. If our body, see, if you're really healthy, do you crave a lot of really fatty foods?
Not really.
No, because what happens? It just doesn't. Or you start eating, it was good the first several bites, but then what happens? Like it coats your tongue, and you go, well, the first few bites were good, but I really don't need more of this, right? This is going to clog up everything, and so you kind of stop. People who aren't very healthy, like when we go to like a old country buffet or something like that, where there's a buffet line, and you watch and you see what people are eating, it's a really eye-opening experience. I want us, when we go to one of those buffet restaurants, we are going there not to buy the volume, but we're buying the selection. That you can walk into a restaurant like that. You don't have to eat a lot to make it worth your while. You just have to have what you're buying is the ability to have a variety of foods, and you can pick a little bit of whatever looks good, right? You understand? You don't have to eat till you're stuffed to make it worth your while. Just by going there and having the selection is what made it worth your while, right? And if you'll change your thinking about that, it will be amazing. But if you watch the choices that other people make on their plates, you start to realize, wait a minute, somebody goes and they get 3 plates of food before they tasted anything. And then they sit down and they start scooping it, right? And you start to realize, you know what, this isn't a healthy way to eat. And so that's something that's really important, that we need to start saying, okay, let's eat the proper amounts, and let's think about what it's going to do in our body. I also mentioned the pancreas. What does your pancreas do?
Makes insulin.
Yes. But what does insulin do in your body?
Controls the blood sugar.
That's correct. It also makes some things having to do with fat absorption, or I'm sorry, with protein digestion. Because remember, the stomach, it took the hunks of meat that you chewed, hopefully really well, and went down the stomach, and then it dissolves into amino acids, and then that has to be broken down farther, and that happens really in the small intestines. And so the pancreas is involved in some of those enzymes as well. All right, so it's not just blood sugar, and so starches, the final digestion of the starches, and the proteins is handled by the pancreas. So that is something that's really important. And the
pancreas
so
is out of whack, you can't digest protein.
or sugars, yeah. And see because the proteins, but I would say proteins really stomach. That's almost. But that's really the number one on the hit parade, because by the pancreas, where it all happens, when the pancreas is involved, if the stomach hasn't broken down the proteins into small enough chunks, then the pancreas can't finish off the work, right? That sort of thing. So it's not the pancreas's fault. It really is back, upstream. So we always say we have to go upstream. All right. And then we've got large intestines, and the large intestines are where a lot of bacteria are growing. Now, one of the things that people are talking about nowadays is a possible lack of good bacteria in our systems. You know, one of the reasons they're implicating is the chlorine that's in our water system, and it's there to purify and to cleanse, right? But what does it also do?
Bacteria.
It kills good stuff, right? And we have, what we want is a flora. We have, like I said, about 5 pounds of good stuff growing in our gut. We want it to grow there, don't we? And if we're drinking a lot of this water that has a lot of the chlorine and things like that, we may be getting those good bugs killed. Yeah. So one of the problems, so one of the problems that we have is we've got to do things that will make the good bugs thrive. And if we're killing some of them off, guess what? We may need to take some extra ones in our mouth. All right? So there are things called probiotics. And if you've heard of those but never explored that, like you've seen Activia, you've seen those commercials with some of the yogurts and things like that, you can actually take some live cultures. So we need to be eating food that are alive, right? So the foods that have nutrients in them, but like our yogurts, right? These sorts of things, we've got to make sure they're part of our life. Now, if you're trying to avoid dairy, it's a little more complicated, but that means it's very easy to buy these probiotics, right? And so I would say if we're thinking about nutrition in your life, what should you be taking? You should definitely be adding some sort of a multivitamin, and I would prefer a higher quality with lower numbers but better vitamins. I think you should be taking omega-3 fatty acid, and I also think you should be taking some probiotics. Those, so if you do those three things and nothing else, you'll be doing so much better than most people, and it will be really a good thing.
What about additional enzymes?
Yeah. So if your digestive system is a little bit challenged, let's say you know you've got a history of the hiatal hernia, or let's say that as we're getting a little bit older and we're finding when I eat food, it feels like it just stays like a brick in my. It doesn't feel like it used to. Because when I eat, I feel great, right? And I can eat a lot of meat. I can eat a lot of protein. Some people can't. But if you can take digestive enzymes, I like the two-phase digestive enzymes, because like Ken was talking about the hydrochloric acid, and you also want the ones that help break down the fats and things like that once it gets into the small intestine. They actually have the capability of making these pills that when it's in the stomach, it will dissolve and release more of the acid, and it will wait. The second phase will be released once it senses that it's in the base of the small intestines, and then those things will get released. So, I use a product called GI Zyme, but there's lots of different ideas. But so if you're having issues with your ignition system, right, that let's get this working. And I do have some patients, and what they know is if they're going out to eat at a restaurant or someplace where they can't control so much of what's in food, that if they have eaten a digestive enzyme, they're a lot healthier and happier. So like you can, right before on your way to a restaurant that you know you're going to have maybe some unfamiliar food and combinations and things like that, you can take one of those digestive enzymes and it will really help you'll enjoy the evening, and it will work so much better. And what you're doing is you're trying to make what is supposed to function just work a little bit better. And it's a wonderful idea. All right, so great idea. So I guess in closing, I just wanted to ask a question, and that is, we've got our special here. Have you ever been in a situation where you were afraid of dying? Yeah. And how scary that is. And I was thinking about, there are people around us who are dying, and they don't know to be afraid. Last week we got a call. One of our friends was working out, and she died. She basically had a heart attack. And I'm now to the age, I'm almost 50, right? And the reality is, people that I know and that I love are passing away and things like that. And so I've been thinking these last few months how important life is, right? That every moment of our life is precious. We have to continue to strive to make good choices. And I want to make inspired choices, not just ones that you feel like you're forced to make. So please hear from my heart tonight that I'm trying to inspire you, and if you feel guilty or something like that, I don't eat very good, I don't want that to be where you go with this tonight. I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'm going to make some changes. I needed to make these changes all along, and I want you to live an inspired life. And as you're talking to people about these ideas, right, that you start saying maybe they've got a lot of bloating here, well, you're going to start thinking about the probiotics, and you're also going to check, you're going to actually touch their back, because what did we learn? Well, the things, wherever it is in our body, this is where the nerve control is almost always, right? So if it's my thyroid that's not working, what if there's a problem in my neck, right? Or if there's a sinus problem, which is here, could it be a problem at C2? And so many people would have no clue that they should go see a chiropractor. All right? I had a guy show up this morning with Meniere's disease. You know what that is? That's ringing in the ears and dizziness and your hearing loss, sort of a thing. And it was so bad. This guy has been driven to the hospital many times. Your world spins out of control. You don't know what your throat. It's miserable. And this guy came to see me today because one of our other patients who had Meniere's and doesn't have it anymore has been absolutely pestering the living daylights out of this guy. Can you imagine? I was not the first place this guy has gone to. Okay. So realize if you're talking to people about some of these things, you may meet some resistance. But I want you to have the perseverance and to be inspired enough that you can speak to that if you see there's something that they could benefit from. And you say, at least consider this. And we've got this special these next couple of weeks.